Hey, it's Loren Lester, the voice of Robin and Nightwing, and you're listening to Batman, the Animated Series Podcast.
Okay, we're very excited to welcome Loren Lester, the voice of Dick Grayson, Robin and Nightwing, to our show. Loren, how are you doing today, man?
Great. Nice to be here. Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much for being here. We're going to go through a bunch of questions and obviously talk about Robin, but right off the bat, man. Oh, off the bat. Okay, starting strong there. I have a question. Will's shaking his head. That wasn't planned. That was
Oh, sure. Yeah, you didn't have that one lined up.
We have noticed that you actually worked on one of our favorite shows, which was Curb Your Enthusiasm.
Oh, yes.
So you're blaming me? Yes. It's not my fault that I had a heart attack.
Did you even know him?
I did know him somewhat.
Did you like him at all?
No, I thought he was a prick.
You worked in the episode The Black Swan, which is like one of the best episodes. Such a good episode.
It is such a good episode. The writing, well, I was going to say the writing, but there is no writing.
Right.
And that's the really the fun part about having done that show, is that it was all completely made up. And my audition, I had to go in and I had to improv with Larry. So that was very exciting, and I made him laugh. And so I thought, well, I might actually get this. I made Larry laugh. So and then got to the set, and sure enough, all they said was, your friend died on the golf course. You blame Larry for it. Go. That's it. And so then there was the whole back and forth. All the guys were there in the locker room, and then there was a later scene where there was a memorial for him, and I was giving the memorial for it was what is blanking on his name, the wonderful filmmaker who played the guy who died.
I wouldn't know off the top of my head either.
I cannot believe I'm blanking on his name. Anyway, so I was giving a memorial for him, and that was just like, okay, you're giving a memorial for him, go. So
that's crazy.
Anyway,
was it a lot of takes, or was it mostly like we got?
Yeah, well, what they would do is they would just roll, and then they'd stop, and then they'd go off and they'd have their discussion. The creatives would talk, the director and Larry and everybody, and they'd come back and they'd say, that thing you said about pick up from right there, and let's go with that. They would find things in the improv to to launch off into another subject.
I mean, creatively, that's got to be a great itch to scratch, I would assume. I'm sure it's a lot of pressure for some people, but to put it in my own terms, it's like getting a comic book strip where they'd say, draw whatever you want on this page, as long as it's crazy action. That's like the best for me, because I can do whatever I want. So I'd assume acting-wise, it might be something similar.
Well, yeah, and you either have that, in your toolbox, you either can do that or you can. And so, for somebody who can do that, it was a lot of fun because they all could do that. They were all so great at it.
Yeah. I mean, it's one of my favorite episodes. Yeah. And when I saw that connection, I was like, oh my God, because we've on our show, we've reviewed all of the Batman the Animated Series episodes, and then we're about to start the new Batman adventures. And as we reviewed BTAS, we have seen so many cast members of BTAS appear on Curb. There is such a crossover. Like, there's a lot of you guys in Curb, and it just makes me love BTAS or Curb even more. Like, both shows, are just.
I didn't realize that. I didn't realize there was a lot of people from the show on there.
Yeah, just from doing like research on voice actors, because so many people, as you know, in BTAS would come in and do an episode or two as like a random character. And then I would look at creds, and sure enough, there would be Curb Your Enthusiasm as a link.
It'd be like, he was the doctor in this episode and stuff like that. And you'd be like,
Paul,
wow.
It's Paul Mazursky. I cannot believe I blanked on his name.
Oh, well done.
Paul Mazursky, the great filmmaker who became an actor, or he was an actor all his life, but toward the end of his career, he did a lot of acting, and he was a regular on, a recurring character anyway on Curb Your Enthusiasm. So I got to sit, with him throughout the whole thing, because we're friends in that episode. And my favorite Paul Mazursky story was they were over there improving at their table, and then the cameras were going to pick us up on our table, and it was going on and on and on and on there because it's improv. There's
right.
When it's going to end. And he said, I hope they finish this by lunch because you know what? After lunch, everything's shit.
I wish that was true for every job.
Maybe that's why they filmed a lot of scenes of everyone eating breakfast so they can kill two birds with one stone.
Maybe so.
Eat and film.
Yeah,
maybe
so. One that just popped in my head as another BTAS alumni was Ed Begley Jr. He was also Curb,
of course,
as one of the doctors. I think he's the doctor that refuses to help the person on the plane because he doesn't want to have an emergency landing.
That's right.
Yeah, it's so good. It's just such a great show. So yeah, I had to talk about that. But as we were just talking about your roles and acting, how did you get into acting? Like, what was your first gig? And what was your first voice acting gig as well? I'm sure they're very different.
Well, I was very lucky because when I started, I had an agent who had departments for all the different genres. So he had a film and TV department. He had a voiceover department and a commercial department. And so I was able to audition for jobs in all those different areas. Now it's very specific. You have a commercial agent, a voice agent, what they call theatrical agent, which covers movies, film, and theater, covers all of that. So back then I was lucky. So, every day I would get something like, oh, so here's a voiceover audition. Oh, so here's a movie audition. Here's a TV audition. So I was very, very lucky that way. And that's how, but the funny story of how I actually got into the agency was that I was not a good athlete. I'm putting that mildly. And the guys were just really cruel and awful to me, because I really was not, I was not up to snuff in any of the sports. You name it, I couldn't do it. And
more like like blobbing instead of rubbing. Is that what we're talking about?
Well, exactly. And so they had a special program called adaptive PE, which was really PE for people who were who were handicapped. Let's just put it that way.
Right.
So
this sounds like a Curb episode already.
It is. But my mom, who did not like how I was being treated, I was coming home every day, and pretty upset. So she got me into this adaptive PE program, and I was the star of that one, by the way. Man, I was good in that one. No, I'm kidding. But the coach of that class, his son was in commercials. He said, "You have a great look for commercials. Did you ever think of being an actor?" And of course I had wanted to be an actor. I'd done, shows at the school and things like that. And I said, I would love to. And so he introduced me to his agent, his son's agent, and the rest is history. That's where my whole career took off.
Well, sounds like you owe your career to those high school bullies and the school
sports
then, right?
I do.
A real superhero story. Yeah. His whole origin to bullies.
And now, of course, on Facebook, they all want to be be my friend.
Oh,
yeah.
I remember you with the towel. Bam! I remember that.
And then with voice acting, what was your first voice acting gig?
Well, I first did everything I did on camera and voiceover was commercial first. So I did a commercial voiceover, but in a very short time, I started doing animation. And the first job I had was called 5 Weeks in a Balloon. It was a Hanna-Barbera TV after-school special. And so I got to do that. It was a TV movie. And then very shortly after that, I did G.I. Joe. And I played barbecue on G.I. Joe.
Barbecue. I don't know if I've heard of that character before. But
we weren't G.I. Joe kids growing up.
It's funny. You're either the G.I. Joe kid or the Batman kid. Yeah. It's like they don't really cross over too much. Yeah.
Yeah. That's true. Yeah, and we moved out to the US when I was 10. So before that, there's Action Man in the UK, which is like the G.I. Joe ripoff, but it's for here. So it's a little bit of that. But okay, that's cool. So we'll shift into some Robin now, because I guess my question to you is, you've been asked loads about how you got the job as Robin, so I don't want to ask that question. And for anyone that's interested, there's so many chats with Loren out there where he tells that story. But more or less, I want to get your thoughts now, because here we are, 2025, over 30 years later,
Amazing.
talking about Robin. And just wanted to ask, you're the voice of Robin for so many generations. So what does that feel like for you?
Well, it's really it's really an honor, because so many people come up and say, you are the definitive Robin, you are the definitive Dick Grayson, you are the OG Nightwing, you are I'm the first person who ever voiced Nightwing, and there's been a number after, but I'm the first person who ever had the honor to do that. And they say to me over and over again, yours is the voice I hear in my head when I read the comic books. And Kyle Higgins, who's a friend of mine, who's created some wonderful Nightwing books, as well as films. He's a wonderful filmmaker too. But he said, when I was writing those Nightwing books, this is before he even met me. When I was writing his Nightwing books, I heard your voice in my head. So that's quite an honor to think that that's for 30 years now. That's people have heard my voice.
You're through, Zuko. Forever.
That's so, birdie boy. Huh?
I've waited a long time.
And I have the same voice, So at Comic-Cons, people are like, you were the voice of Robin. I say, yes, I am. And I'm looking for the Joker. Have you seen him? And they're like, oh my God, that is you.
Well,
oh man.
For me, it's great because as someone who grew up a little brother, whose older brother had to be Batman all the time, so you were forced to be Robin. You made Robin cool, because before you were Robin, he was a dork in tiny shorts. But like, you come along and he's like this, especially for the 90s, you were like this hip, cool guy, where as a younger guy, I was like, no, I could happily play as this Robin.
I have heard this brother story so many times.
I thought I was bringing something new there.
No. I'm telling you that what you guys went through, that dynamic. A lot of people have told me at the cons, they said, God, I didn't want to be Robin. I wanted to be Batman. But then, I could be cool Robin, and then I could transform myself into the cool Nightwing. And so that all worked out. When I was a kid, I wanted to be Batman, of course. I was into the Adam West Burt Ward show. I watched that twice a week, every week. And I really wanted to be Batman, but when I got this opportunity, they said, you're going to be Robin. I said, well, that's cool too.
You okay?
I'm fine. Come on. There's nothing more to do here.
Thanks for saving my bacon, Robin.
Hey, no problemo, Batman.
I mean, your voice, just hearing your Robin there, and you still got it, is great. And I was just watching, because we're about to review Sub-Zero this weekend. We have a live show. This is coming out after it, so listeners are going to be like, you've already done that. But watching Sub-Zero and watching your performance in there, I'm just like, Robin's fucking cool, man. Like, he's just.
It's one of my favorite scripts that they ever wrote. It was great, and Randy Rogel wrote that, and it's just a terrific script. And I remember this was really exciting. I used to be, I still am, but I used to be a really big movie buff, and I would always watch Siskel and Ebert, at the movies. Do you guys know who they are?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Siskel and Roger Ebert, and they had this, head to head. Sometimes they disagree, sometimes they would, but mostly they agreed. And what they agreed on was when they reviewed Sub-Zero when it first came out, Roger Ebert said, now this may be one of the best, if not the best, depictions of Batman and Robin that has ever been in a film. And I was like, wow, that's pretty cool. That's a pretty good review.
Yeah, absolutely, especially from them.
I mean, from a film buff point of view, I mean, I went to film school, but my brother went to film school as well. And that's why we loved this show, because especially doing this podcast, we learned how much influence from like Hitchcock is in this show, and like there's just so much from old gorgeous cinema that's in this show that it makes sense that those reviewers would rate it so highly.
Well, they deliberately, I mean, Bruce Timm deliberately and told us that from the outset. He said, this is going to be cinematic. This is going to be like a movie. It's not a cartoon. This is a cinematic experience. And just the look of the thing, the dark paper that he drew on, the music, the script writing, the style of acting, and the style of how the actors were directed by Andrea Romano, all very like a film, much like a film.
He's right. You're always there for him.
Yes. Just like you're always there for me.
Hey, what are friends for?
Well, we've always said on this podcast, as much as this show does knock it out the park in so many aspects, directing, writing, visuals, music, as you said. One thing I said I think is real peak in the show is the acting, like the depictions of every character, your character obviously included. Is just, to me, just that everything is so pitch perfect that I don't think, I mean, even as a guy who draws Batman for a living, my favorite version of Batman is this cartoon. Like, it's just crazy how powerful this.
Well, as far as the acting was concerned, we had two things really going for us that you don't have anymore, really. First of all, we were all in the same room together.
Yeah.
So we would all sit together, and we had some soundboard, in between us, but we could see each other. And we could always see Mark because he would stand up. He wouldn't sit, he would stand up so we could see him. But we could see each other. So it was like doing a play, and all of us had a theater background. We were all theater actors. That's where we had trained. So in the way that you read a play script and bring a life to the character in a play script, and you look for their motivations, and you look for their beginning, middle, and end, and their story arc and all of that. This is what we brought to the show. So we came in, we were all theater actors. We all knew what to imbue these people with because of our training. And so it was like doing a little play. It really was like doing a play every day, a radio play, but certainly a play.
Yeah, absolutely. We've had many great people like yourselves that worked on the show come on our podcast, and they've all said the same thing. And being in the room together was the key to the success of like all of those actors interacting and bringing out that energy. And now
that's not the case. You record alone in a booth by yourself. And I would say a lot of the younger, not all of them, but a lot of the younger voiceover actors have no theater experience. And when they were children, they said, I want to be a voice actor. And I don't think there was anybody who was on that show, not one, who said, I want to be a voice actor. It was just like, I want to be an actor. And if I use my voice, or, you do it on stage or a film, I'm just an actor.
Yeah. It reminds me of that behind the scenes of when they were making The Hobbit, and you see Ian McKellen doing Gandalf alone while they're filming on another set, and he's trying to bounce off of them. And
he's like talking to a tennis ball, isn't he?
And he just goes like, stop, and he starts crying, and he says like, I can't do this new age like way of filmmaking.
Wow.
I miss being around the people, and I feel like that maybe that's what it is today. It must be so weird not to be able to bounce off of another actor. I mean, we do a lot of comedy on this show, and without each other, there's no way we'd be as funny separately, because you need to be able to bounce off of somebody
for sure.
And I just feel like that's crazy to think that no one is bouncing off of anybody now.
Yeah, and it works so well, so it's weird that they would change it, but I guess schedules and everything can mess that all up, so it's just out of convenience maybe. But you did your Robin voice before and nailed it, and I'm just curious.
Well, yeah, he did do the voice. I think he's gonna nail it.
I am very curious. What inspirations did you pull from for your Robin voice? Was there like an example where you're like, oh, that's kind of cool, maybe if I take bits of that and put it into this version?
Listen, I grew up with Burt Ward, so I mean that you got to go there. You got to start there.
Holy iceberg, we can expect a crime wave.
No, Robin, a cold wave of terror.
That was a big inspiration for me. So that was the starting point, and from there I made it myself. I made it my own. But that excitement, that energy that he had, he had to say a lot of campy, silly dialogue, which I never had to say. But so starting from that point, and then when I became Nightwing, I took Kevin Conroy as my starting point, because I felt at that point that Robin had become his own superhero and had become his own version of Batman, which in the comic books he eventually does become Batman.
Yeah.
But when he became Robin, so it lowered the pitch, cooler cadence, not so excitable.
Yeah.
So that's how I came up with. So those were my initial inspirations, but then I made it, made it myself.
Here, kid. I think you lost this.
I could have handled him.
Coulda, woulda, didn't.
You sound just like Batman.
I'm nothing like him.
That's really cool. And yeah, talking about Robin and Nightwing and that transition from Boy Wonder into his own hero. There's obviously so many great episodes where you're either Robin or you're Nightwing, but there's one episode in particular where you're both.
Yes, my favorite.
Is that your favorite episode?
Yes, it is.
Oh, that's awesome. It's Old Wounds, which we will get to reviewing when we reach TMBA. But yeah, I mean, talk a little about that. What was that like, being Robin and Nightwing in one script and that story?
Well, when we had finished the first set of episodes for Batman the Animated Series, as it was called, I thought that was the end of it. Didn't know that there was going to be more, but they had planned to do more. And Andrea Romano called me and she said, I have some good news and some bad news. I said, oh, what's the bad news? And she said, you're not playing Robin anymore. And I said, oh, the good news be? Thanks. What's the good news? The good news is you're going to be playing Nightwing. It's Dick Grayson and he becomes his own superhero. And I said, cool. So then when they did, the Adventures of Batman and Robin, they introduced Nightwing and that became the character for that.
I'd love to know what happened between you two.
Things change.
No kidding. You guys used to be the greatest. Batman and Robin, the dynamic duo.
Maybe you should ask him.
I did. And you'll never guess what he said. Things change.
So there are some, in Batman the Animated Series, there are some really very strong Robin episodes. Particularly, I don't know why, but the ones that had the Riddler in them were particularly had some very strong Robin. So there's one episode called If You're So Smart, Why Aren't You Rich? Where Robin actually solves the puzzle of the maze. And that was like one of the first times where he was an integral part of it, not just like, okay, I'll show up with the Batmobile and save you, at the end.
Yeah.
He actually was an integral part of it. So then with Nightwing, Nightwing was really an integral part of the plots in the episodes they included him in, and a co-equal, a partner with Batman, not his sidekick.
Yeah, and it was really cool because obviously you're introduced as Nightwing and you don't get to Old Wounds until like the middle of the season. So you don't know what's happened between Batman and Robin and why that's all happened. And I remember as a kid, that was my introduction to Nightwing. That was my introduction to just like Dick Grayson and where he progresses to. And I remember watching and being like, but why? Why aren't they friends anymore? Why aren't they Batman and Robin anymore? And then that Old Wounds episode came out, and it I just loved how the show never made it for kids. They never spoke down to them or dumbed it down for them. It was always like, this is serious, and we trust that you can keep up, and we did.
Yeah.
I thought we had the same goals.
Things change. I changed. The game's over, Batman. I quit.
Robin, wait.
With BTAS and all your time on that show and the new Batman adventures and everything that you did there, did you acquire any learnings from doing that you and then applied to future roles? Was there anything that you took with you where you're like, I'm going to start doing that more?
No.
I was like, I've got him thinking. And then it was like, nah.
I had to think. I was like, no, I think it was its own, its own world, know.
You're like, there's a lot of stuff I left. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, you know what they say, leave it on the field.
That's right.
And then I guess my final question around Robin and Nightwing, well, mainly Nightwing at this point, was what was it like revisiting the character after nearly 20 years when you returned as Nightwing for Batman and Harley Quinn movies?
Was it really 20 years?
It was nearly 20 years. Yeah, in 2017 that movie came out.
Wow. Well, they had explained to me in the interim years we had done a few games and things, but they had explained to me because I went in for Arkham Asylum and to record, and I was playing Kirk Langstrom /
really
the Man-Bat.
Man-Bat. That's me.
Where's Francine? Where is she?
She's dead, Kirk.
No. She can't be. I didn't. What have I done?
And I went and I said, is there a Nightwing in this game? And they said, oh yes, there is, and it's so and so. I said, oh, I was the OG voice of Nightwing, and they said, well, that's its own universe. That's the Batman the animated series is its own universe, and when we do something else, this was Warner Brothers explaining to me. When we do something else, it's somebody else who plays the part.
Even though they're using Kevin Conroy and Mark Hamill as their roles.
And Paul Dini writing.
I'm sorry, who else are you going to get for those parts? I mean, come on, really.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, who else are you going to get for Nightwing, man?
Well, that was my feeling.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm with you on that one.
But anyway, I was like, okay. So I was waiting for them to do, return to that universe. There was even some buzz about there being a Nightwing series or, Catwoman spinoff and all this kind of buzz around. And then I said, well, I guess they're never going back to that universe. And then I got the call that said, we're going back to that universe. And I was thrilled because, I love playing the part. It's my favorite animated character I've ever played, Nightwing. And then I got the script. The script's very funny. And so I was very excited about doing that. And I guess they have decided to not return to the universe again. I don't know. The universe is still out there. I'm still here. I'm still alive.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't mind seeing a Nightwing spin-off show. That sounds cool. So, well, that's cool. So I guess it was like picking up where you left off, really.
Oh, completely. Oh, it's like we never missed a beat. Yeah.
So you said that Nightwing's your favorite character, so you're putting that above Robin then?
Yeah, only because he really became so integral in the writing. It was really more, as writers, we just really want to have more to bite into, and and because he has his chip on his shoulder, and he had kind of a chip on his shoulder as Robin too, but he had a real chip on his shoulder about what happened between he and Batman, but also they had to work together. So there's all kinds of great things to really.
And there's the whole Barbara, Batman, Robin, that was a very complicated thing.
As well as the relationship with Harley Quinn, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, so exactly. Yeah.
So there's all that stuff.
I was almost going to ask you about that scene, but I didn't know what that was like. But yeah, watching that, I guess I'll call it a love scene between Nightwing and Harley Quinn. I mean, what was that like, seeing that in the script, being like, what's happening now?
Oh no, it was like finally he gets a date. Dick Grayson gets a date.
Emphasis on the dick, I guess.
I was going to say he gets to live up to his first name.
Right.
Is it true you used to be Robin? Huh, ain't that a kick in the pants? Little boy ones are all grown up.
Okay now, don't be getting any funny ideas.
Too late.
So yeah, you're speaking about Nightwing being your favorite character. What are some other favorite roles that you've worked on? We'll start with voice acting first, and then go into live action. What about other voice characters that you've done?
Well, I had the thrill of doing a movie called Thumbelina, which evidently has a big cult following. I had no idea. And it was Don Bluth. Got to work with the great Don Bluth, and so that was really fun. And I have a big following. I mentioned earlier with G.I. Joe. I have all kinds of people who constantly are approaching me to come to this event or that event because of my participation as G.I. Joe.
Ow! Don't go out that door.
It's barbecue.
Always test the door first. If it's hot, find another exit or yell for help.
Now we know.
And knowing is half the battle.
G.I. Joe!
And then there's a show nobody's heard of anymore, but it had a fantastic cast called Defenders of the Earth, which was actually my first full series. And that is a very special show to me because I worked with an actor named Peter Mark Richmond, who you probably all know from TV, who's in hundreds of television shows. And he introduced me to his daughter, who I married, and we have 3 children together. So that show has a very special place in my heart as well.
Would you like to come over this afternoon, Carlotta? Dynac X could help us with our chemistry assignment.
Dynac X?
She's a giant computer.
She?
You're right. She's really not a person, but at times she really seems like a person.
She sounds very interesting.
And then with live action roles, I mean, what ones stand out to you?
Well, as far as television, you pegged my favorite is Curb Your Enthusiasm. I mean, you can't do much better than that.
Yeah.
And then in film, I was in a film called Rock and Roll High School, which also has a big, 30, 40 years now, 40 plus years of revivals and fan base. And that was really fun. And all of these, great filmmakers who went on to have their own careers all worked on that film. And I got to work with the legendary Roger Corman, who told me that my character was his favorite in the movie, which was really fun.
Oh, that's great.
I played Fritz Hansel, the evil hall monitor, of course, legendary.
So that's cool. And then now you're in New York again.
Yes. Well, again, for the first time, actually, I'm from LA. And I'm an LA kid, grew up in LA, raised my kids in LA, and moved here to New York in 2018. So I had not actually been here before that.
Is that, are you doing lots of theater then?
Yeah, so I was doing a lot of theater in LA. And the last, I would say, 2 years of my life there in LA was doing a lot of theater. And my wife is also, she's a musical theater actress. And we said, all of the theater work really is in New York. And if this is what we're doing now, because people always say, hey, do you want to do such and such? Do you want to do this a movie, or fans, do you want to do this kind of movie, or do you want to do this kind of TV show? And I have to explain to them, we don't have any control over that. Actors really have zero control. We wait for auditions, and when we get auditions, then we wait to hear if we got the job. And if we got the job, then great. And if it takes off and it's something like Batman that lasts 30 years, it's a miracle. But usually it's just, a job. So we moved to New York because that's where all the theater work was. And I suddenly found myself as a theater actor almost exclusively, and not by choice, not because I said, I don't want to do any of that other stuff anymore. People think it's like that. It's not that,
Yeah.
So, and then I came here and I was instantly successful here, and that was like, okay, I belong here. And so sold our house in LA, moved to New York, and we're New Yorkers. We've been New Yorkers since 2018. So
bye sushi, hello bagel, right?
Well, they have sushi here. It's pretty good.
But I mean, I guess not much good Mexican food in New York, right?
That's very true. That's very true. I'm still looking for that good Mexican restaurant.
It's the same in London, man. There's no good Mexican in London either. You gotta
except for that one place in Victoria Station. That's all right. Like that's it.
That's all right. I wouldn't compare that. Yeah, I wouldn't compare that to LA. Yeah,
it's good for England.
It's good for England.
I get what you're saying about not being in control. People ask me all the time, like, would you work on Daredevil? I'm like, of course I would. It's not like it's not my choice. I don't go, excuse me, Mr. Marvel, I would like to work on Daredevil.
And even people who are very famous, they don't necessarily have total control over. They have a lot more control, certainly, but they don't have total control of what comes their way. Very often, very, very famous people complain because they're only offering me this kind of thing, and what I want to do is this kind of thing.
Yeah, that's just the way it goes sometimes, I guess. Yeah. But I'm really glad to hear that you're doing really well in New York.
Yeah, I made my Broadway debut, and I spent a whole year in a Broadway show, and that was always one of my dreams. And so,
what was the show?
Cabaret, which is about to close after a year and a half run, almost a year and a half run. But I was in it for a full year, almost 400 performances.
That's why it's closing, because you've left, right?
I'm afraid so. Yeah. It's like I put a pin in the balloon, and it just sort of, just.
So what do you prefer? Do you prefer the East Coast, or do you prefer the West Coast?
East Coast. Oh no, I love New York. I love New York. And New York, every day is a feast for the eyes and an adventure. Just walking out on the streets, it's just I don't want to live anywhere else. I love it here.
No, like I said, we totally understand that. We grew up all around there. I mean, it's just has such a. I do love London because it's less busy, and you can find little nooks of beauty that you're like, what is this pub that is from the year 200 like AD? You know?
Yes,
you're just like shocked. But New York.
I went to London for the first time 2 years ago. Mm-hmm. My daughter attended Royal Central School, get her master's degree in classical acting.
Nice.
And I went to London with her to set her up there, and I loved the city. I said, if I could work here, I would love to, but it's very hard for Americans to work there.
Really?
Yes, you have to be specially permitted to work there. Very protective, as understandable, of their British community. But
I work in London every day, Loren. I'll tell you, it's not as much as it's cracked up to me. I'll be honest. There's days where I'm like, "Fuck London, I don't want to be here."
Well, I feel better now.
Be in New York. I'd rather be in New York.
I feel better now. But the reason I brought it up was because I remember going to the tour of the Tower of London. And he pointed at the Tower Bridge, and he said, now that bridge is from I forget what it was, 1600s, is it? I'm not sure.
I'm not sure. The dates of all things built in England.
I'm going to say the 1700s because it's the 1700s. Now, for those of you from America, that would be an old bridge.
Yeah.
Tower Bridge. We're talking about Tower Bridge, yeah? Is that what
Tower
we're
Bridge,
talking about?
Yes.
So that was, that was actually it was the time of Sherlock Holmes, because it was in a Sherlock Holmes movie.
Oh, then it was 19th century.
Yeah, it was 19th century. Yeah, that's when they were building it.
And that to you is an old bridge.
I also like your English accent, man. It's not bad.
Oh, thank you.
It's a bit spinal tappy, but I do like it. No, it's like I mean, down the road from me, I have a castle that William the Conqueror was in. That's from a stupid date, and it even for me growing up in America, like, it does baffle me. Even when we pass Stonehenge driving down the motorway, we're like, oh yeah, Stonehenge, that's well old,
right?
That's well old.
And of course, growing up in Los Angeles, anything that's 1920 is really old.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying. In LA, it's like So
yeah, I get you. But yeah, I mean, I'm glad. London is always great to visit, but working. If I had the choice, I would probably pick New York every single time.
Good to know.
Yeah, and I do love that city, and I do miss it as well. So, what are you working on now? What's going on? If you can share what you're working on, I don't know.
Yes, well, I'd like to tell people about when is this going to be broadcast?
In 2 weeks from recording. Yeah, around 2. Yeah, not this coming Thursday, but the following.
So, what date is that?
Oh God, hang on. I don't know, but good question. 1 second. Because
I don't want to promote something that will already
25th.
pass.
The 25th.
Oh, perfect. I'm going to be at the Los Angeles Comic-Con, back in my old stomping grounds, the 26th, 27th, and 28th in the LA Convention Center, and then October 4th and 5th, I'll be at the Dallas Fan Festival in the Irving Convention Center.
Awesome.
So
very cool.
That's what's coming up immediately. And the great thing about being in New York is, especially for theater, is that there is always something incubating. So right now I'm in a musical version of the film A Room with a View, brand new musical.
Oh, wow.
Beautiful musical. And this is what we call a workshop production here, which means that, it has a very short run, and they do that in order to move it to the next level, to rewrite it and develop it and incubate it. So I do quite a bit of those kinds of things, and I love doing that here in New York. And I'm, constantly auditioning for, the next show, whatever that's going to be, whether it's on Broadway or in regional theater, Chicago, Florida, even going back to Los Angeles. That was the funny thing is when we got to New York, we already knew this, but we auditioned for shows that were happening in LA that we could never get an audition for while we were in LA, because they all come to New York for theater actors.
Right.
So they don't audition the local people in LA. And it was very frustrating. But once we got to New York, we were able to audition for shows that we couldn't get auditions for in LA. My wife booked a show at the Old Globe Theater in San Diego, where I'd always wanted to work, and she'd always wanted to work. But until we got to New York, we were not able to do that.
That's crazy.
That is, yeah, that's crazy. That's really cool. And then as far as where our listeners can find you on socials, where do you want to direct them?
At actor Loren Lester is my Instagram.
Awesome. Okay, cool. Do you have a website?
And I also have a website, lorenlester.com.
Amazing. Okay, cool. That will be in the show notes, everybody, so you can check that out. Loren, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you on the show.
My pleasure, too. Thank you so much. Enjoyed it.
Yeah. Thank you so much for coming on. Maybe we'll have you back in the future, maybe for talking about a particular episode or something. But yeah, thank you so much for joining us.
Well, you know where to find me. I'm in New York.
That's true, yeah. All right, man. Thank you so much. Take care.
Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.